think that people would be defending, for example, the extent to which right-to-work legislation, as we were talking about in the last break, has spread across the union and has demonstrated a capacity to liberate people from the confines of a union to which they do not belong. You would think you would hear people talking about the economy, the extent to which it has demonstrated some capacity for growth. 4% GDP growth is a pretty good number. Unemployment where it is at 4% is a pretty good number. Record low unemployment among minorities, etc. But you don't really hear that. You hear a negative message. The idea is that this will register more with Republican voters. Fear is a better motivator than enthusiasm, than thankfulness towards the Republican Party. But I just don't see it. I don't see any of that manifesting in some sort of a victory. And Donald Trump, by the way, leaning into these primary victories, saying that he is responsible for these victories, is politically tone deaf. It's silly. He's going to have to run away from a loss in November if Republicans do suffer. And so he's just setting himself up as the key architect of the voters. Whatever the voters want to do in November, whether they go to the polls for him or they go to the polls against him, he's supposed to be preserving his mandate, and he's not doing that. He's running out right in front of this thing and saying this is all about me, and that's gonna backfire in November.
Well, and Noah, if there were any conservatives left in the Republican Party, and I'm sure they're there, but they don't seem to be answering polls when people ask about Vladimir Putin or they ask about protectionism. What conservatives left in the party would be energized to go out for the sort of things that got me, and I'm sure you, voting for candidates in the past? Are they small government conservatives? I mean, here you have Donald Trump running up the largest federal debt ever. You've got Donald Trump promising the most tariff taxes on middle class and working class Americans than ever before. You have Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress passing the largest spending bill ever. Let me say that again. Donald Trump and Republicans that dominate Congress pass the largest spending bill ever. And the deficit's exploding to over $1 trillion a year. And no, those aren't Barack Obama's deficits. You can look and see what Donald Trump's own government's saying, and Trump's actions over the past year and a half, have added hundreds of billions of dollars to his deficits. What small government conservative is going to get excited and say, hey, I'm going to call all my friends at church and tell them to go with me to the voting booth?
And entitlement reform, as we understand it, the necessity of entitlement reform is just not on the table. Nobody seems to want to talk about it. I understand it's an election year issue. That's like, putting your peas first on the table and saying eat up, and then we'll get the ice cream later. But nobody's making this case, and conservatives still care about that sort of thing. I know there's mixed feelings about the tax bill here, and I have as many mixed feelings about it as you do because of its the extent to which it just balloons the deficit. But there is some value to it in the sense that it has put so much money into the economy, so much liquidity into the economy, that you can't have this kind of business activity that we've seen without that kind of boost that comes from anticipation that the corporate tax code, for example, is going to generate a lot of capital investment. So make that case. Say that, be less afraid of this tax bill. This only major reform that this Congress has passed. Make that case.
Well, and I understand that, but Mika, the tax bill is deeply unpopular with the American people. Most Americans believe that the benefits went to, who Donald Trump said the benefits went to. The night after it passed, he went to Mar-a-Lago. He sat around with his billionaire friends, and he said, I just made you all a lot of money with the tax cut that I passed. So you've got that side of it. It hurts Donald Trump, the populist. It hurts populist Republicans. It looks like it's going to billionaires and to CEOs and multinational corporations for stock buybacks. And then on the other side of it, you've got conservatives thinking, well, gee, it wasn't really targeted to stimulate the economy, and it's just driven us deeper in debt. So that's why, and we'll go over the numbers later with Steve Ratner, but that's why even the one thing they did, cutting taxes, deeply unpopular with many Americans.
Well, on taxes and on immigration, the president has done things that I think hurt his positive brand with the people who are blindly following him. I think those two issues have problems that will stick with him. Still ahead, we're learning new details about last month's summit between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. But it's coming from Moscow.
Of course it is.
Of course. Plus, Trump has been tweeting a lot about the Mueller probe lately. Senator Lindsey Graham says he's talking about it a lot, too, on the golf course. We'll have that coming up next.
There's a common thread I see every time I'm in the field.
While this is burning, you were saving other homes.
Neighbors helping neighbors and strangers alike.
This is what America's about.
Sometimes it's nice to see all the good that's out there.
Bringing folks out, we have seen it community after community.
Fact is, every insurance company hopes you drive safely. But Allstate actually helps you drive safely with DriveWise. It lets you know when you go too fast and brake too hard. With VFAC, they help you drive safer, giving you the power to actually lower your cost. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
Family Taco Night is a heartburn night you can plan for, but surprise pizza at the office means heartburn you didn't expect. Zantac works when you need it. It relieves or prevents heartburn in as little as 30 minutes and lasts up to 12 hours. Zantac. Eat your way, treat your way.
What if you never had to sort your pills? And taking your medication was this easy. PillPack is a new kind of pharmacy. We'll sort your medication and deliver it directly to your door. It's your medication made easy.
That was awful. Why are you so good at this?
I had a coach in high school. Really helped me up my game.
I had a coach. Math.
Ooh. So why don't traders have coaches?
Who says they don't? Coach McAdoo.
You know, at TD Ameritrade, we offer free access to coaches and a full education curriculum just to help you improve your skills.
Boom! Mad skills.
Education to take your trading to the next level. Only with TD Ameritrade.
I was looking for somebody who wanted to find love.
At eHarmony, we ask you questions so that we can match you for a lasting connection.
I found my person.
I really found my true love on eHarmony.
eHarmony.com, the #1 trusted dating site. Start for free today.
We do whatever it takes to fight cancer. These are the specialists we're proud to call our own. Experts from all over the world, working closely together to deliver truly personalized cancer care. Expert medicine works here. Learn more at cancercenter.com.
It's the Ford Summer Sales Event, and now is the best time to buy.
You ready for this, Junior?
Yeah, I think I can handle it.
No pressure. That's just my favorite boat.
Boom. Make summer go right with Ford, America's best-selling brand. And get our best deal of the summer. 0% financing for 60 months on F-150. Right now, get this special offer on F-150. 0% financing for 60 months during the Ford Summer Sales Event.
The jobs we do tell a story about who we are. Mine starts right here. I learned the value of hard-earned money. Ever since, it's been my mission to protect yours. As treasurer, I help people across Ohio save their homes from foreclosure. As Attorney General, I stopped predatory lenders who hurt taxpayers. As the nation's consumer watchdog, I took on Wall Street and won. Got back $12 billion for people who were cheated. As governor, I'll see to it your hard work pays off.
Sandra is always planning for the future, but has trouble managing her own health. United Health Group used data and analytics to predict Sandra was at risk for diabetes and offered her incentives and support to make healthier lifestyle choices. So Sandra hasn't developed diabetes, and she's using technology to stay connected with her care team to help it stay that way. This is what healthcare can do when it's caring and smart. United Health Group.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham spent part of the weekend golfing with President Trump. At an event on Monday night, he told an audience that the Mueller probe came up in conversation several times.
Why don't the two of you step up and stop the Mueller investigation?
Well, did Trump ask that question? He must have mentioned that about 20 times. I've told the president, I know you don't like it. I know you feel put upon. You just got to write it out. I want to win in November. If we stop the Mueller probe tomorrow, you wouldn't be able to talk about anything else.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think, Mika?
Well, I just think that that's telling the truth, which I think people appreciate. But it's hard to really understand unless you spend a lot of time in Washington how hard that is to do for people who are in office in the Senate and in Congress. That is hard to do, and Lindsey stepped up.
Boy, he really did. And Willie, you look at how Lindsey Graham spent his last week.
Yeah.
Saying no to the president on the golf course about 20 times. And something that's even harder, when you're in a room full of constituents where the overwhelming majority want you to do something on one of the most heated issues of the day, the Lindsey Graham stepping up and saying, you know what, we need to finish the Mueller probe. And, we talk about Republicans not showing courage enough. Certainly in that clip, that's Lindsey Graham doing. And he is right politically. It's best for the Republican Party because it would lead to a meltdown that would end up really hurting the Republicans. But Lindsey's been very consistent on the Mueller probe. He said from the beginning, we've got to see it through the end. Let the chips fall where they may, and let's see how the Russians interfered with American democracy. So that was, I thought, certainly a lot more courage than most of his Republican colleagues have shown in town hall meetings and with the president.
Yeah, Senator Graham has done a service, I think, on several occasions over the last couple of years, speaking to President Trump and telling him the truth. But it is instructive that the president, 20 times, probably an exaggeration, but that the president has
probably
this on.
Not, actually.
Well, that whatever the number is, that the president is obsessed with this, that he has it in his mind, and that he's asking people around him why he can't just end the Mueller investigation, as we all know he's asking. So the idea that people have put out there, he would never do this, it would be political suicide, it would trigger a constitutional crisis. Just ask Lindsey Graham if President Trump would be willing to move the pieces around to get rid of Bob Mueller and end this investigation. I think the answer is yes. Joining us now is White House correspondent for Reuters, Jeff Mason. Jeff, good to see you.
Good to be here.
So let's talk about you cover the White House very closely, how much, as the President of the United States watches on cable news Paul Manafort go through his trial and he sees that his son, Don Jr., might be in some trouble as well, how obsessed, how concerned is the president with the Mueller investigation?
I think he's probably really obsessed with it, and the fact that he's sort of on vacation now, although the White House doesn't want to call it vacation, in Bedminster, he's got even more time to be watching television and to be weighing in on that. People have been asking me also, why is he, it seems like there's been an escalation between the media and the president in the last few weeks, and I think this may be why as well. He likes to choose a scapegoat. It's often the media or somebody else when he's really upset about something, and this is likely one of the things that is really on his mind.
So we're learning more about what exactly was discussed during President Trump's hours-long private meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin in Helsinki last month, although again it's coming from Moscow. This is according to a Russian document obtained by Politico. Putin presented President Trump with a series of requests, including a proposal to hold new talks on nuclear arms controls and also prohibiting weapons in space. The document, purportedly a page of proposed topics for negotiation, also addresses rising tensions in Eastern Europe. The Kremlin and President Trump previously have revealed that Syria was discussed in the meeting, in addition to President Putin's proposal to have U.S. officials head to Moscow to question Russians recently indicted by Robert Mueller in exchange for Russia being allowed to interview a similar number of U.S. officials and diplomats. So during last Thursday's White House briefing with Trump's top national security team, Jeff asked about their knowledges regarding what was discussed exactly in private between President Trump and Putin.
You're saying today that the president has directed you to make the issue of election meddling a priority. How do you explain the disconnect between what you are saying, his advisors, and what the president has said about this issue?
I'm not in a position to either understand fully or talk about what happened at Helsinki. I'll turn over to the National Security Director here.
The issue was discussed, and in fact, President Putin said the first issue that President Trump raised was election meddling.
Should Americans believe that he is listening to your advice, or that he is going his own way when he's having meetings like he did with the president of Russia?
I think the president has made it abundantly clear to everybody who has responsibility in this area that he cares deeply about it and that he expects them to do their jobs to their fullest ability and that he supports them fully.
Jeff, the president shortly thereafter answered your second question when he called it a Russian